wedding photographers, planners, etc. What's your biggest "this marriage isn't gonna last" story? Bride asked me to please get a few shots up ASAP for Facebook, which I did that night. Received a 1 AM phone call from the groom furious that I had made him look bad by posting pictures where his hair looked all sweaty. This was an outdoor wedding in Louisiana on the 4th of July at noon. They didn't last a year. Good lord. Who in their right mind had an outside wedding in Louisiana in July? And they didn't expect to sweat? Native or no, you can't escape the sweat. One wedding I bartended about 7 years ago, the best man was giving his toast and made a joke about the size of the groom's penis. One of the male guests yelled out, "She's missing my extra 4 inches." That led to a very awkward silence, and a couple groomsmen had to hold the groom back. I later found out the guy who yelled out was an ex-boyfriend of the bride. You were the bartender, but it sounds like the bride had been getting all the tips. The wedding was already on the rocks. Audio guy here. Groom passed out not once but twice during the ceremony. Like standing there. Gee, this guy isn't looking well. Bam. Groom on the deck. Smelling salts. We get him up. Get him some water and orange juice. Get through the 1,000 yep. Here he goes again. Not as bad. How about we just sit down on the steps and finish the ring ceremony? The whole time his brother, the best man, has that look like I really should just scoop and run with him out of here. The poor bride has the worst look on her face, like OMG, what do I do? 6 months later, it was over. Photographer here. I've seen some things, let me tell you. Christmas time wedding. Groom's family decides they hate the bride's family during the reception. There was a lot of barefoot dancing going on at the time, so the groom's family took the glass Christmas ornaments that were the wedding favors off the tables and threw them on the dance floor. Of course they shattered and everyone got their feet cut up. This couple had been together for 5 years before getting engaged. The bride got served divorce papers less than 6 months after the wedding. She was stunned and had no idea her husband wanted a divorce. The whole thing was so freaking sad. I think about her a lot still. Bride punched out her sister-in-law at the wedding reception. They spent the rest of the evening hurtling random insults at each other throughout the wedding events. Since the wedding was at a remote campground, the sister-in-law did not leave. Shooting a very fancy wedding at the Boca Resort in Boca Raton. Groom 3 times divorced, looks like George Hamilton, very wealthy, recently a great-grandfather. When asked where he'd be going for the honeymoon, he said, "She travels plenty on my dollar. But maybe we'll go somewhere later this year." Bride. Less than half his age, gorgeous. While alone outside the reception before entrances, when asked by a friend how it felt to be Mrs. Blank, she said, "Oh, it's fine. It's whatever." Notable quote from a guest I overheard: "This is disgusting. I'm sure they're fine. They have a good chance. Both seem like they know why they are together." I'm a wedding singer. One stands out where the wedding was on an unseasonably hot day in our city at a venue with no AC. The time comes to dance and none of the almost 100 guests want to be inside on the dance floor, understandably. The bride gets up to dance after dinner as we kick off, and she is literally the only one on the dance floor. One of her bridesmaids joined her after 2 minutes, an eternity, because she felt bad and didn't want the bride to be alone. We heard through the planner that the bride didn't even want a big wedding. She said yes to husband's desire for a bash, but the only thing she really wanted to have was a band. So she's out here dancing her ass off, with maybe 3 or 4 people at this point. Husband could not be bothered to join her. I keep seeing him walk by, chatting with various people. At one point he has a drill in his hand to go fix something. Basically anything but dance with this poor woman, and to join in the literal only thing that she finds pleasurable about this event. He finally is chatting with someone near the dance floor and she goes over to get his attention. I see her ask him to dance, and he completely blows her off. Doesn't even stop his sentence, just kind of shoves her hand away. It was so sad. She was so crestfallen that she stopped dancing and went outside. We played to an empty room for another hour and a half. I went to deliver a cake, and met the wedding planner, looking completely frazzled. I've worked with a woman a lot and we're good work friends at this point, even though we're technically in different fields. She always has her shit together, so I asked her what was wrong. She tells me the groom's boyfriend showed up to confess to the bride that he'd been with the groom longer than she had and they were in love, but the groom got to him first. They were currently sobbing in the groom's suite telling each other they loved one another and the groom saying he'd never love her like he loved him. She was running interference and trying to keep the bride happy and the mothers both out so those two could figure their shit out before she had to destroy any relationships, especially because she got the impression no one knew the groom was gay and they were on the down low super religious hipstery types. The wedding, somehow, went on. I saw a few pictures, since the bride included them on her review of my bakery. Groom looks miserable while she looks radiant and happy. The wedding planner told me about a year ago that she got a call from the groom's boyfriend to arrange his wedding and he was marrying another dude who basically worshipped him, which brought up the first couple, who didn't even manage a year, judging from bride's Facebook. Shocking, I know. I photographed a wedding and I was working with the groomsmen and groom. It was after the ceremony and the bride went off to go fix her makeup. I was probably about 70% done with the men photos when the bride starts screaming and crying asking why she isn't in any of them. I explained that this was the guy's shots and that the bride and bridesmaid shots were up next. She did not like that answer. She demanded that she be in their shots too. These kind of photos were the ones where the groomsmen are doing the goody things with the groom. She then proceeds to take my camera and throw it on the ground, shattering the lens. She then cries harder and the groom just walks away. I was so petrified. RIP Canon 60, you will always be missed. I hope you up and left. That is fucking absurd. I was the wedding DJ for a couple with large Italian and Irish families. Knew things would get wild when they did patron shot toasts instead of the traditional champagne. Had an idea it wasn't going to last when the cops shut the wedding down after an ambulance carted a girl off on a stretcher who got punched in the face by some dude. Poor Snooki. You win this round, stranger. Bride pouted through all of her photos because I couldn't magically make 2 hours of photography happen in a 35 minutes we had. She legit wanted 4 locations, all family formals, and wedding party shots done in just over a half hour. From all that I saw at the wedding, it seems like she doesn't get told no a lot. She was a nightmare to work with and the venue's coordinator literally did a happy dance once it was over. Photographer here. Had a groomsman hit on me all night, kept putting his hands on me, told the bride and groom I was getting uncomfortable and they both just laughed at me. Ended up literally following me to the bathroom and started grabbing my boobs and trying to kiss me. Had to throw him off of me and told the bride and groom I was leaving after their dances, 1 hour before I was scheduled to leave. They tried to sue me over it. Now they're divorced. Lol. This is horrible. I'm sorry you had to go through that. As a bride I would have kicked that guy out so fast.